Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of our Black History Month special. Today I am joined by the legendary and amazing Sasha Butler, who is a local musician, a pioneer in the music community here in Northern Colorado, and just all around amazing person. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit more about kind of the work that you do and kind of how you're involved.
Primarily it's Urban Monk Studios, my studio here. We're in the private lesson space with the full studios downstairs. This has been a place in different iterations since 2007, and I'm very proud of it. I teach mostly adults, but energetically, any kid who needs to come this way comes. It just naturally happens. So I work here mostly, also at the Music District for the creating. I've helped create that. When it was birthed in 2016, it was an idea in formation for 15 years with Bohemian Foundation. But they got the buildings and everything and hired the original people to help design the programs there. And I was requested to do the instructor program. So that went up and it flourished. And now I'm on Team Community, where I do community outreach to help people being so long-term in the community, helping musicians know this person, go here, do that, this, and that kind of thing. And so they tie together. And also I'm in a band, Lois and the Lantern, which is an all-girl string band here in town. We're kind of like, like a female Bela Fleck in the Flecktones. We really love our strumming and harmonies, and it's deep-rooted. We're all very solid, beautiful women. They're my best friends. And 3 out of 4 of us own businesses. And so we know how to really delegate well and communicate well, which is great. And so those are the 3 things that I do. I'm also doing some solo stuff coming out soon as well. So I'm really excited to just and very blessed to have music be my life all day long and as my career, and that's it,
Yeah. What genre of music do you think inspires you the most?
Late 60s jazz for sure.
Okay.
That and reggae. I always I cover songs, and I'll cover them in reggae just to see if the syncopation works. Yeah. So I'll do one of my favorite songs that I did was Under the Bridge by the Chili Peppers, and I reggae that out, and I'll just reggae anything. Oh, I'll even reggae my own songs. And
so with that kind of being involved in the world of music, and also being involved in Northern Colorado, being Black in Northern Colorado, there's 3 different subsections right there that you're kind of it's a very specific niche.
Absolutely.
Are there any specific standout moments that you've had in your experiences of things where it kind of opens your eyes when you realize that you might be the only one in your area or your industry doing what you're doing? Absolutely.
So I play banjo. I'm Southern, and have played banjo now for over 20 years, starting when I didn't know it was an African instrument. And for those who don't know, it's an African instrument. So, especially down south, it was more accepted because we do have Black banjo societies. Carolina Chocolate Drops came from there. It is having a resurgence. Coming out here, it was very different. I've had people just marvel at, you're playing the banjo, right, at gigs and stuff, and were doubtful about it, And then I would show them via my band or solo what I do. Wow, I never knew, So yeah, it's especially gigs, festivals, anytime I play, it's what?
So I think right there, that's important because you mentioned coming from the South where it is more mainstream to kind of be playing those instruments, doing what you're doing, and then moving up here where it seemed a little more uncommon to the general public.
Right.
What was that when you kind of realized that oh man, there might not be a lot of people here who are very familiar with maybe people of color?
Indeed. It's been a very pioneering experience, recognizing that when I go on stage or even go to a jam, that I'm representing two factors, being black and being a black banjo player. And both of those, in this, up until recently, it's kind of mellowed out with the banjo part because people are getting more educated about it being from Africa. But still, with the black person part, we are in an area which I've never experienced before, where a lot of people here who are predominantly white hang out only with their own race, by simple habit or purpose. So it is very different to interact. It has been. I've had very different interactions here. Yeah.
Have you had any negative interactions?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It is, but they're covert. The South is very overt in its racism, so you know what's going on. You see somebody in a Klan hood, you're like, all right, I'm gonna. Yeah. Thanks a lot. But here it just tends to be, and I'm recognizing, especially from last year, I'm realizing in hindsight that a lot of this is people have just been told these stories, and also coupled with not hanging out outside of their race. It is subconsciously, they get an idea in their head that black people are a certain way, BIPOC are a certain way, and not ever hanging out with anybody, which is astounding to me, gather a truth, that isn't necessarily a truth. So
how long have you been in the Northern Colorado area?
I've been here 20 years.
Okay. Have you seen any major changes since the events of 2020 and all the political climates that were happening since then?
Absolutely. Changes within my best friends, students, changes within the community. Absolutely seeing wonderfully people stepping up, asking questions, realizing, wow, I've really never thought this, but I've been racist, and I didn't realize it, especially with the liberal community. We are predominantly, a blue state, and so we have a lot of people who are in the beginning of their journey, learning their awareness, facing their privilege. And I am excited about that because I'm open to talking about it, having that conversation. Right. A lot of people are weary and exhausted who are black, and that's totally understandable. But I feel like I was made for this moment because I've been waiting for this to happen, trying to tell people this. A couple of years ago, I had a person walk out of rooms, that I was trying to talk to this. They're like, that's not the truth. That can't be the way it is. And ever since last year, when George Floyd was murdered, people woke up. I don't know what happened with specifically him having to die, on Memorial Day of 2020. And that was the same day the guy in the New York Central Park, that happened the same day that lady called on him, same day. And so it was a huge page-turning day that for some reason woke people up because of media, because of the videos, right? You're seeing something that you cannot unsee. And so it changed the perception of recognizing, wow, this really has been happening. And because of that, they got to see the past, Trayvon Martin, right? Elijah McCain, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, all of these people, we got to see, this is really happening. Why have I not been seeing this as a white person who's liberal and open-minded? I need to know what's going on. So there's a lot of journeys, fresh steps, journey making from my friends to students to the community, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the benefits of the area that we live in, with the large amount of people who have kind of an open mindset, right? A lot more liberal leaning. I expected after the events of 2020 for things to almost shift the opposite way, just because of my personal experience. I expected people to double down more on their beliefs or kind of be a little bit more antagonistic. And then in the small amount of time I've been here in Northern Colorado, I still haven't, it's still new to me to realize that there are people who will not only realize that maybe they've been viewing things from a wrong perspective, not only will they recognize that, but then they'll also take steps or measures to try to correct that.
Absolutely.
And so when it started happening, I was pleasantly surprised. I was wow, okay, people if you present them with the facts, people might actually listen. and take steps to maybe correct some mistakes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Howard Berger writes, was my favorite quote by him is, truth is a social construct merely relative to one's nature. So, there are places that are very hard edged, like Oklahoma, Mississippi, some parts of Texas, and, most of the South, but that are tradition based. And of course, when you have that tradition based, it's deep rooted. And so that is truth. Tradition equals truth, right? So you're having to fight both of those stories and uproot that. And a lot of tradition is based on people's self-certainty and self-esteem. So you're not only battling the story itself, but their identity. And that's where it becomes personal, and that's why you're having that much resistance, because outside of that identity, what is their identity, right? I mean, they've been raised that whole way. So we're also seeing a lot of people facing themselves for the very first time, facing family members for the first time. It's a huge time. It's a wonderful, messy time.
Yeah. Would you have any advice for people who maybe be watching this video and are wondering, like, am I doing enough? If I'm not doing enough, how can I do enough? Or people who might just be approaching this with a new mindset, wanting to help, wanting to make a change however they can?
I feel like we need to have conversations, and it needs to happen within the people, from the people because a lot of people are injured in general and triggered mentally in general right now. Having a safe one step forward would work via videos, video conferencing calls, just a simple FaceTime call, asking the questions. It's an either no or yes, right? To reach out, then you move on to the next person. And having that self-certainty and vulnerability to face where you've been in awareness, whether you're black, white, Asian, Native American, whatever, where have you been in this journey right now? Where's your awareness been? Because when you do that, you become vulnerable. You allow yourself to be vulnerable. This is a vulnerable time. Be vulnerable. Have those conversations. Like this helps. People are going to see this and they're going to be helped, right? They're going to soften up and recognize they're not alone in vulnerability. Right. And that's what it is. Being an example of open is what we need right now. We've been so hard and closed and like, I've got to be this way, I've got to look this way.
And I think that's a big part of the video that we're doing, or like the whole Black History Month special that we're doing, is we want people to not only learn new things as they watch these videos, but understand that, it's okay to be open and accepting. And even on our side of things, or any side of things, people can ask questions. Like, I encourage questions being asked. I encourage people getting online and educating themselves on anything that they're curious about. And I think having these videos out here, especially with people in the local community, or just sharing facts about Black History Month in general, I think that opens up a lot of dialogue, and maybe it kind of, gets rid of a lot of the mystery behind things, or gets rid of some of the, confusion behind whether or not people can or should ask things. And so I think these types of conversations are exactly what people should be doing.
Absolutely. And you said it, the mystery.
So if anyone is looking for you online, where can they find you?
They can find me at urbanmonkstudios.com. That is the studio space. SashaButler.com. That's my solo site where I do my blog posts as well about spiritual consciousness. And then Lois and the Lantern. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Nice.
All of it.
Sasha Butler, thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to sit down and talk with you, learning more about the work that you do here and kind of how you're involved in the community. It was a pleasure for me, and I'm sure it's a pleasure for everyone else watching as well.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so great to have collaboration happening in the community. This is what it's about.
Exactly. Thanks for watching along and being a part of our Black History Month special. And remember, don't let us be your only source of information. I encourage you to look up other great resources for more facts and stories about Black and African American culture. You can find us at blacksparrowmedia.org or show continued support through our Patreon at patreon.com/blacksparrowmedia. I'll see you next week.